The late afternoon sun spilled gold across the cracked pavement of Franklin Park, a quiet patch of green nestled in a small American town. Its fading warmth brushed the shoulders of an elderly black man sitting alone on a weathered bench beneath a canopy of maples. James Carter, 72, wore a faded green army jacket, a silver star pinned to its chest, unnoticed by the world. His eyes, heavy with decades of war and labor, stared into the distance. He didn't move much, just breathed, as if each inhale was an act of defiance. His calloused hands rested on his knees. He wasn't here to bother anyone. He was here to exist. But in this town, in this country, a black man sitting still could still be seen as a threat. Children darted along the paths, their laughter sharp and fleeting, but they steered clear of James. A mother tugged her son closer as they passed, muttering under her breath. The boy glanced back, his curious eyes meeting James's weary ones for a moment before he was pulled away. James had seen that look before in jungles thick with danger, in cities thick with suspicion. It was the look that came before a door slammed or a weapon was raised. He closed his eyes, letting the sun warm his face. For a fleeting moment, the sunlight didn't judge. It didn't see color. It just touched him, as it did everyone else. But peace never lingered long for men like him. A faint crackle of a police radio broke the quiet. James didn't flinch, but his body tensed, an old instinct from battlefields far away and streets too close to home. He turned his head slightly and saw them. 3 officers approaching with purpose, their steps clipped, their eyes locked on him. Officer Michael Grant, leading the group, had the tired face of a man who followed rules without questioning them. Behind him, Officer Ryan Brooks moved with a swagger that screamed hostility. Trailing them was Officer David Ellis, gripping the leash of a massive German shepherd, its ears alert, its body taut. The dog, named Titan, seemed to sense something in James before a word was spoken. James exhaled slowly. "Here we go," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. He stayed seated, hands still, body calm. He knew the rules, no sudden moves, no sharp words. He'd learned them in Vietnam and relearned them every day since. "You've been here a while," Grant said, his voice flat, procedural. "I sit here every day," James replied, steady but soft, "just watching the world go by." Brooks scoffed. "Got ID?" It wasn't a question, it was a dare. James reached slowly into his jacket, pulling out a worn wallet. Inside was a faded Marine Corps ID, the words Vietnam veteran barely legible. Grant hesitated, but Brooks barely glanced at it. "Could be fake," he muttered. The words stung sharper than any wound James had ever taken. A lifetime of service dismissed in a heartbeat. "I fought for this country," James said, almost to himself. "Bled for folks who wouldn't look me in the eye." Ellis stayed silent, adjusting his grip on Titan's leash. The dog growled low. A small crowd began to gather, parents, teens, retirees watching with a mix of curiosity and unease. James sat taller, not out of fear, but because he'd spent a lifetime carrying fear without letting it show. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. "Just a place to sit." But for a black man, that was too much to ask. Brooks stepped closer, his voice thick with authority. "You're making people uncomfortable." The word uncomfortable landed like a slap. It was the excuse America had always used to look away. The park grew quiet, the air heavy. A teen pulled out his phone, recording. A mother clutched her daughter. James looked around at the faces strangers too timid to speak and thought, "I gave them everything, and they still see me as nothing." His stillness wasn't surrender. It was resistance. The tension coiled tighter. Brooks barked, "Stand up and move along." Now, James didn't move, not out of defiance, but disbelief. After all these years, the rules hadn't changed. You're either invisible or a threat. "I come here every day," James said, firm but calm. "I'm not hurting anyone." "You're making people uncomfortable," Brooks repeated, louder, as if volume made it true. Grant shifted, his face flickering with doubt, but his feet were rooted. Ellis's grip on Titan's leash tightened, the dog snarling. The crowd grew, phones raised, but no one stepped in. Brooks turned to Ellis. "Let the dog check him." Ellis hesitated. "He's not resisting." "That's an order," Brooks snapped. The world tilted. Ellis unclipped the leash. Titan lunged, a blur of muscle and teeth, jaws bared, eyes locked on James. Gasps tore through the park. A child screamed. A phone was dropped. James's instincts screamed to run, but he refused. He rose slowly, deliberately, his body steady with the weight of dignity. As Titan charged, James's eyes softened, not in fear, but in memory. "It's me," he whispered. "It's me, old friend." Titan stopped, inches from James. The snarl faded to a whimper. The dog's rigid stance melted, tail wagging, head low. He sniffed James's hand, then nuzzled his chest, letting out a sound of relief. Recognition. Love. James knelt, tears brimming. "You remember," he whispered, cradling the dog's head. The crowd gasped, stunned. Brooks's face drained of color. Ellis stumbled forward. "Titan, heel." But the dog stayed, pressed to James like a long-lost brother. Then a voice boomed through the crowd, deep and commanding. "That man saved my life in Kisan." Heads turned. A tall black man, Samuel Hayes, strode forward, his military jacket gleaming with medals. His eyes burned with conviction. "Get your hands off him," he growled. "This ends now." Samuel's voice carried the weight of history. "In Kisan, under fire, my squad left me for dead. This man carried me 2 miles through hell, bullets in his shoulder, just so I could see my family again." The crowd murmured, outrage rising. A woman shouted, "He's a veteran. You sick a dog on a veteran?" Another voice, "This is why we say the system's broken." Brooks stammered, "We didn't know who he was." "You didn't care," Samuel shot back. "You saw a black man and decided he didn't belong. That's not policing. That's prejudice." James stood, Titan at his side, his voice steady but sharp. "You were ready to let that dog tear me apart because of my skin. Not because of what I did. But he remembered me. You never even asked." Grant looked away, shame creeping into his jaw. Ellis knelt beside Titan, whispering, "I've never seen him do this." Brooks, red-faced, muttered, "We had the procedure." "Procedure?" a teen shouted. "You tried to kill a man for sitting." The crowd's anger surged. James raised a hand, not to silence them, but to focus them. "You want justice? Don't let this fade. I don't want marches or murals. I want change. I want cops trained to see a man, not a threat." The mayor arrived, breathless, her aides trailing. "Mr. Carter, this is inexcusable." "I'm sorry." James met her eyes, exhausted. "This didn't start today. It's been building my whole life. I don't want your word. I want your signature on reform." Grant stepped forward, hat in hand. "I failed you, sir. As an officer. As a man." "You failed yourself," James said. "You let fear wear a badge." Ellis, voice breaking, added, "Titan had more humanity than I. I let the leash go." James nodded. "He remembered me. You chose not to." The crowd clapped, not in joy, but in witness's slow, heavy acknowledgement of truth. Brooks turned away, muttering about calling it in. The moment wasn't his anymore. It belonged to James, to Titan, to the people who'd finally seen. Days later, Franklin Park was transformed. James's bench now bore a plaque, in honor of James Carter, Marine, witness. May no one sit in silence again. Flowers and notes surrounded Ida Child's drawing of a man and a dog under a tree. Titan lay beneath, loyal as ever. The video of Titan's hesitation went viral, replayed on every news channel. A federal investigation was launched. Brooks faced misconduct charges and suspension. Ellis transferred, seeking redemption. Grant spoke at town halls, admitting his complicity, urging reform. The mayor signed new policies, mandatory body cams, anti-bias training, and community oversight. James, now a reluctant symbol, walked with Titan daily. People greeted him with respect, some with tears. "Don't thank me," he'd say. "Fight with me." One evening, as the sun set, Samuel joined him on the bench. "You did it, brother. You made them see." James smiled faintly. Sometimes just existing is the fight. Across the park, a young black girl read to a crowd, "We won't be silent. If they doubt you, speak. Your dignity is not negotiable." James watched, heart full. His legacy wasn't the plaque or the video. It was the fire that passed forward, the silence broken. As night fell, he leaned back, eyes closed, knowing the next generation was awake. What did this story stir in you? Share your thoughts below, especially on violence and injustice in everyday life. Where do you stand? Let's hear your voice.